All right, everybody, welcome into another edition of the College Court Report podcast. We are three strong tonight. We've got Ryan Scarfone and Nico Wright is back with us. Fellas, how we doing?
Yes, sir. Doing great.
We're doing good. Nico, welcome back, man.
What are you saying? Welcome back. I was here.
You missed the first episode. We broke down the Champions Classic.
Savages.
That was a well.
Hey, you've been working.
In Nico's defense,
we had to go on.
In Nico's defense, he was here last week, but we didn't post it, and that was on one individual in particular. I'll shoulder the blame for that one, so it's on me.
All work for nothing. 1 a.m.
Hey, I was up till 3 a.m. last night trying to get the Champions Classic one done. So
kudos to you, Chief. Kudos to
that'd
you.
be 5 a.m. your time. I can only imagine how much you'd be complaining if you were up till then.
It's a hard life.
Us millennials. Bad Wi-Fi, staying up late. Jeez.
Ridiculous. But we're going to start off with a little congratulatory statement to Mark Emmert and the NCAA for doing something right lately, granting Braxton Beverly a waiver to play immediately at NC State. Right decision, I think, across the board. You can't fault the kid for going to school. Transferring when the coach that recruited him got fired. So took longer than it should have, but I think the NCAA finally got one right.
I mean, you would think that a governing body that governs and provides rules for all intercollegiate athletics, the main thing is to get these guys to graduate and to get them to go to class. Because as we all know, there's a lot of them that don't go to class. So, suspending a guy because he went to class, that just doesn't seem right to me. So kudos to them for finally doing the right thing for once.
It's about time. But my thing is, too, lawyers shouldn't have to be involved for these kind of scenarios. Like, why is Braxton having to lawyer up to make himself be able to play and go to school? Like, that's just seems wrong to me. And, like, he has to flip that bill. His family's on the hook for that billable hour of that lawyer's time to do this case. And the NCAA finds, like, okay, we don't want to be in the light anymore. Let's let the kid play because clearly he's done nothing wrong.
Yeah, I can see why they would limit him and say, okay, yeah, you enrolled, whatnot, you are technically a transfer, but it's a stupid rule, I think. I mean, he hasn't played a game.
2 classes. It was it was 2 weeks of class. But what sort of advantage? The whole point of making sure that transfers don't play a year is to, like, it's just to keep them on an even playing ground. They don't want, the good players to go all to one school. But, like, what is the purpose of keeping him ineligible? Like, this NC, I just don't get what the advantage is,
Well, I get the eligibility rule, but the thing is, I don't think the NCAA should be the one that governs it. I think it should be on the school or the conference to be like, you know what? He passes the tests or whatever to play. That way it will be a much quicker process rather than having this weight of the NCAA to make a verdict on a situation because they have so many to do. And they're usually wrong. But why not just put that on the school and the conference to make that decision to see if players are eligible?
Because we all know that when the school's in charge of doing things, they'll do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, but they're still governed by the NCAA, though.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop them from doing stuff that's unethical.
Yeah, but I'm talking strictly eligibility, though. Like, so for this example, with Braxton, they meet the criteria, whatever, send it for approval maybe, rather than having the NCAA make the final decision. That way he can actually be started and not be behind as much.
I'd keep it with the NCAA. It takes it the middleman because every school, like Ryan said, every school is going to do it differently. Every school is going to do what they have to do to get their guys to play. And yeah, the NCAA may take a little longer, but at least you have one body that says yes or no. If you go to the school and they say yes, you can play, but the NCAA comes back and says no, it takes a longer process. And here's Beverly coming in January to play instead of missing one game at NC State. I think it takes out that middleman and might actually even speed up the process. If the NCAA doesn't agree with the school's decision, they're going to have to drag out the process to make sure it's right. So
I beg to differ. I think for this scenario, it's pretty cut and dry, and it's a decision that can be made. Where others are much more complicated. But for simple ones like this, I feel like he should be able to play if he switched because he took two classes. He was going for the coach. Coach isn't there. I think he has a valid reason to be able to move.
I
Yeah,
wonder if he
I agree.
brought the
But
Ohio
like,
State
if it
playbook
was
to
up
NC
to like,
State.
yeah, I wonder. You never know. But like, if it was up to the school's decision, like the school, I'm guessing 100% of the time, just yeah, of course you're eligible. I mean, we want you to play for us, so
No, well,
they're gonna
you're
say
not
that. Fine
understanding.
then.
Though. There's still the eligibility in place. That they can't just a school can't just be like, okay, you can come play. They still have to fit the guidelines of the NCAA. It's just the school can make the say, and if there's an issue, just like if there's a commissioner of a league, which would be the NCAA in this case, they still be like, okay, that's not possible. Like the Chris Paul veto trade with the Lakers back in 2000 something.
Okay. Well, I do think that they need a commissioner for basketball and football. That would just make things a lot more easier. I've always said that they need one, so
It's,
I,
it
I don't
is
know.
what it is.
We'll
It
see
is what it
until the
is.
next scenario comes up.
Beverly's playing tonight. Beverly's playing tonight. That is all that matters. So Beverly makes his debut on Tuesday night for NC State. So see how he does.
And for Jalen Hayes and Evan Beatty, we wish you luck, and hopefully you guys can play soon too.
Wow, heartfelt. Speaking of NCAA and infractions, if you will, UCLA's trio of freshmen are back in the U.S. now after their little shoplifting endeavor in China. Didn't spend a night in Chinese prison. Didn't essentially suffer any consequences in China at all. UCLA is holding the press conference on Wednesday morning. Coach Alford and the athletic director, along with the trio, to announce, I guess, their punishment for the players. And late today, they were still up in the air on how they were going to punish them. Ryan, any thoughts on what you would do if you were UCLA and the administration?
Well, I would definitely suspend them. Now, in terms of the number of games, I'm not sure. Before I know it was during halftime of the Champions Classic. Jay Williams and Jay Bayless were talking about it, and Jay Williams said, suspend them just for 3 games. Just get this over with. Whereas Jay Bayless said they should be suspended for the whole season. Now, I definitely think that they should be suspended more than 3 games, but I don't know if maybe a full season. But like, moral of the story is the 3 games I think is a little bit selfish on Jay Williams' part. He just wants the team. He wants something to talk about. He doesn't. He's really saying that these athletes don't have consequences to their actions. So I don't think it's a good example that UCLA would be setting if they didn't really stick it to them, because they're just basically saying to their players, if you guys do anything wrong, nothing really happened to you. So there's really there's no fear that's driven into them. There needs to be a big punishment set on them, because like this is just unacceptable. They embarrassed their whole university, country. You had to have Trump bail you out. That's pretty embarrassing.
Well, and two, we read an article before from Jeff Eisenberg at Yahoo. China produces they have the number one international applicant rate at UCLA. So China's a big market for UCLA, and for the Pac-12 as a whole, they're trying to grow their brand into China, into that region, and they've already announced next year that Cal will play Yale in the annual Pac-12 game in China. So they have a growing reputation, I guess, in China and the area. And for UCLA to go in there and these 3 players to kind of tarnish that reputation that they've built over the years, I think it warrants a lengthy suspension. I mean, the 3-game proposal is 3 meaningless non-conference games against cupcake
Outrageous.
schools. I mean, what's the point of that, right? Nico with his infamous word outrageous. But no, like, you could very well make the case to suspend him for the whole year. I mean, get your point across, but I personally, selfishly, I want to see him get suspended for the whole year just to see what LeVar Ball has to
Hmm.
say and how big of a media storm this becomes at UCLA. But Nico, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. I agree with everything you just said, Tyler. And the fact is, too, UCLA has to make a decision, and they're making it public, right? So depending how they handle the situation, really says who the athletic director is, what the school stands for, and whether they do it for the full year, which I'm sure will. It looks fair. That's fair, and it makes the punishment and the consequences equal. Therefore, if they do anything
Mm-hmm.
less than that, it has to be something substantial. So like 3 games, like you said, is kind of irrelevant. Like that's not even like that shouldn't even be a possibility. 10, 15, say they said take it to the school and say they can't play in the tournament. Something like that. Like make it profound that like these guys messed up, truly
Mm-hmm.
made a huge mistake, and this is what happens. Not just the players, it's the school that takes a hit too, because that's who they're representing over there, right?
Yeah, I could like the 3 games is one extreme on one end. The full season is the extreme on the other end. I'm willing to bet that they'll probably suspend them for non-conference play, give them half the year, let them come back for the games that actually matter, kind of get them into the tournament. But I mean, if I'm Coach Alford and administration, if you do non-conference, suspend them for non-conference and postseason play. Let them play their 18 conference games, but um, if they make it to the postseason, don't reward them to play in those
Mm-hmm.
games. Kind of give them half the year to play, but at the same time, don't let them play in the postseason. That's kind of weird. Kind of do a suspension on both ends of the season, so it's
Yeah,
kind of a sticky situation. And I mean, like you said, it'll show who the administration are, who the school is, and what they stand for, and they have a chance to make a big statement on the national level. And everybody's going to be watching tomorrow morning at
exactly.
I think it's at 11.
And no,
So
the other thing
all
too,
eyes will be on
Yeah.
UCLA.
if they get the players to speak to just to whether that's an apology or something like that, and maybe how they feel, that would be nice too, just to see if they actually are sincere with what they've done. But that probably won't happen because they don't even want to put them out there. They just want this to blow under the rug, right?
The players will be at the press conference, but if they do an apology, guaranteed it's a pre-written statement from the school.
Oh yeah, for
Read
sure,
off the
for sure,
page and
for
say
sure.
this. This is what you say. Save
Yeah,
face,
or
and
teleprompter. They're fancy over there.
yeah, UCLA's got money.
Thing is that sucks about this is like if like these are good players. I mean, Leangelo's he's okay. I know compared to his other brothers, he's been branded as okay. But like if these were like players that didn't get much playing time, I guarantee you they'd be suspended for like the whole year. But just because that these are pretty good players, I don't know. Like the other two players were. Do you know their star ratings? Like were they five
I think they're
star, four
four-star
star? Do you
guys.
know?
Four-star guys, I think.
So still pretty good, and they'll contribute. So it you already know that if that was anybody who wasn't going to play, they're done for the year. But because it's these guys, they might get
Mm-hmm.
3 games. They might get all of non-conference. So it that just sucks about the whole business of college sports.
And it's mainstream media too. Like the main reason why this is in the media is because of his last name, right? Ball.
Yeah,
And that's because of Lonzo. That's because of Lamelo. That's because of Levar. That Ball brand now is everywhere. It's like Jordan now. It's people want to talk about it, and because he's associated with that, so these other two players are big time into that mix as well with Leangelo now. So wherever he goes, that these two boys, other students, other players are going to be tagged along with that scenario forever.
yeah,
Well, that's what Ryan. That's what you and I said before too. Like it's always in every story. It's always LiAngelo Ball and two others.
Mm-hmm.
It's never so and so and so and so and LiAngelo. LiAngelo is always first. It's always his face plastered
yeah,
over the headlines and the pictures and whatnot. So if and like Ryan, you said too, like if it was a team like you use Mercer as an example too, if it was a smaller school and these 3 guys went and stole Louis Vuitton sunglasses in China, chances are they'd be suspended for the year, kicked out of school, whatnot. And but with it being UCLA being a marquee program in the limelight, and with UCLA with it being LiAngelo Ball, UCLA's kind of probably thinking, okay, if we go this far, LeVar is going to do this. So he's factored into the decision at some point too, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
he always has
yeah,
something to say, and he's going to make a comment about the school and say, if you suspend my son for the whole year, I'm going to say this about you and just ruin your reputation at the same time. So,
Yeah. And my son ain't coming back and this and that.
Yeah. Well, I knew right off the bat, like when I heard the story about them getting arrested, like Chinese, like by the Chinese, and there was like reports about them like spending years in jail there. I'm like, there is no way that they are spending any time in there. They're coming home. They're gonna be okay. If I was their parents, I would not be worried about them one bit because I know that they'll be taken care of. The person that did take care of them surprised me. I didn't realize that Trump was going to do that.
He's got nothing else to do. He's golfing the whole time. So
Yeah, exactly.
he's got all the time in the world on his hands. But when he's not tweeting, he's golfing, and he's not golfing. I don't know what he does in that White House.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Beats me.
Nothing at all.
Tweets.
Twitter things.
Another team that's struggling this season. I guess UCLA's not struggling, but in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Pittsburgh started off the season 0-2. Kevin Stallings is undoubtedly on the hot seat. Seat's getting warmer with each passing day. Lost to Navy in the opener, and then an overtime loss to Montana last night. Pittsburgh's just absolutely struggling. I mean, we knew they were going to be in a rebuild year, but at the same time, didn't think it'd be this bad. So, any thoughts on Pittsburgh as we before we move forward?
All I know is that I'm not counting them out because every year they always give Notre Dame a run for their money. Now that's usually when Notre Dame plays in Pittsburgh because they have a pretty hostile environment. I looked up the toughest places to play in college basketball, and that always comes up on the list. So, but they're not playing in Pittsburgh this year. But I'm not really counting them out. So might be early season jitters. Don't really think so, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, when you lose on the road, I mean, Navy's a good team. They're going to contend with the Patriot League. Montana is a Big Sky favorite. So, I mean, they're not really upsets as people would portray them as. Yeah, they're smaller schools beating an ACC team, but at the same time, both teams are expected to contend in their respective conferences. Both teams have a lot of talent. They both the Midshipmen and the Grizzlies have talented backcourts. So, really, it shouldn't come as a surprise. And I mean, Navy was favorite in the opener, so shouldn't come as much of a surprise. But it's still interesting to see Kevin Stallings went to Pitt and try to turn the program around. But here they are going backwards.
No, we'll see. The overtime loss is tough because overtime can go one of two ways, right? Either win or you lose. So that's a tough one to have on your resume right off the bat, opening weekend. But I have faith. I think they'll bounce back. Like Ryan said, they give Notre Dame a run for their money, and I think they can play with the best of them. So give them some faith there, Tyler.
No, I'm gonna call them. They'll be a bottom 3 team in the ACC. So best of luck, Panthers.
Do you think they win their next 2 games or no?
I don't even know who they're playing, but
I mean, considering who they're playing, UCSB, so
UC Santa Barbara, yeah,
and then Penn State, and then Lehigh.
They won't beat Penn State.
No, I don't think so either.
They could very well lose to the Gauchos as well, Santa Barbara. So they could start 0-4, realistically.
Well, if that happens, then I'll agree with what you said. But until then, I'll keep some faith.
Let's just say we'll come back to this. I mean, we'll monitor this.
This is on the radar now.
We'll assess the situation. But if Max Heidegger for UC Santa Barbara goes off for 33 points again, like he did in the opener, and they beat Pittsburgh, Nico, I'm texting you first.
Please do. I'll be waiting.
I will not hesitate.
I don't know about that prediction, considering your team lost tonight and you predicted they were going to win. But we'll talk about that tomorrow.
That's just rude. That's just mean.
Hey, after Notre Dame got thumped by Miami in football this weekend.
Yeah, I saw that. It's horrible.
State got thumped by Ohio State too, so it's been a bad week. So just let it go.
Actually, yeah, that's true. You said I feel your pain. Oh gosh, that was hard to watch. That was hard to watch.
State scored 3 points. I was at the point where I'd rather them just get shut out. Like,
I know this isn't a football talk, but 4 turnovers, and I had to see that stupid turnover chain 4 times. I didn't want to see it once.
I forget what school it was, but they were talking about the turnover chain. And a school, I think it's a smaller school, I don't know who it is, they have a turnover plank. Like, they have a piece of wood in a shirt and tie with a face drawn on it.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
sick. That's fantastic.
Whatever floats your boat.
I do like the turnover chain though. That's fresh.
Oh God, it's so annoying.
It's just annoying when your team commits turnovers to Miami.
Yeah, no. It sucks being on the other.
It's probably heavy though. I think it looks heavy.
Looks like it cost a couple bills.
If it's real.
It's probably fake.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It looks like it's worth a lot of money, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like from Dollarama or whatnot.
Jake the Jeweler. Peoples. Mappins.
Jared.
Ryan, you mentioned Notre Dame briefly. Give us your thoughts on the Irish through 2 games to start the year.
The Irish looked good against DePaul on the road. It was good. It was a good win. TJ Gibbs had a really good game for himself, 21 points. Bonzi Colson did what Bonzi Colson does best. I knew that game was going to be a win. The Irish played good on the road to open that new Wintrust Arena, 10,000 seat. And then they played really well against Mount St. Mary's. Started off a little shaky. Went back and forth, but in the end, the Irish were a lot faster than the Mountaineers. Mountaineers only relied on really 3 people to do it for them. Good start to the season. Chicago State up next. They beat them last year. Some names on Chicago State to watch for are Fred Sims, Ken Odesi.
Odiasi. Yeah, there you go.
There we go. And Devontae Simmons. So watch out for that. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
I mean, opening season with a win at Notre Dame. Good on them for going on the road and playing a Big East team. That's never easy to do, and especially when they're opening a new arena, so the arena is going to be popping and it's going to be an exciting time for the Blue Demons. But you guys went in there and played spoiler and came out with the big win. So it was a good way to start the year for your Fighting Irish.
Absolutely. Took care of a couple freshmen out there. I'm surprised the Ohio State guy didn't play a lot, but he only got in at the very end. But it was a good game.
Grant Staff, it'd be interesting to see if he plays a lot more. I mean, Ohio State got transferred to Oklahoma, then transferred from Oklahoma to DePaul. The guy's been all over the place, and it'll be interesting to see how the Blue Demons kind of bounce back and see what they do going forward.
I don't think they're gonna be that bad in the Big East. Like they were predicted to finish 9th, I believe, in the Big East.
Mm-hmm.
They looked a lot better than that. They got a lot of good freshmen to rely on. Their transfers as well. So I wouldn't really write them off just yet. So because they look decent. They it's not like the Irish took care of them fairly easy. So team to watch out for.
No, absolutely. Move on to a team that I near and dear to my heart, Maryland Eastern Shore. Not looking too good for the Hawks this year. Top 4 guys are injured. 3 are out for the year. Logan McIntosh is nursing an injured ankle. So we'll see when he comes back. They're on a 6-game road swing right now, which is never easy to do. Couple of freshmen have really stepped up. Leandre Thomas in the front court, Cameron Bacote in the back court. Put up 28 and 11 in his debut against Valley Forge. He's going to be a big-time player in the MEAC for the Hawks moving forward. But with Dante Caldwell, Isaac Taylor, Ryan Andino all out for the year, their depth is really going to be tested. And I think this 6-game road swing, they could come back 1-7, and they left 1-0, or 1-6, sorry, and they left 1-0. So, Hopefully they can pull out a win or two, come back close to 500. But they've got Georgetown, St. Bonaventure, Jackson State coming up. So they just got thumped by 53 against Maryland. So it's not looking good.
Interesting enough, that was one of my key upcoming games to look forward to. Eastern Shore versus Georgetown. See if they can bounce back. See if they can take down Patrick Ewing's team.
I'm going Georgetown in that game.
I mean, I'm going Georgetown as well, but like I'm just saying, just to pump your tires there, Tyler.
We talked about it before too. Like if Eastern Shore was healthy, you could make the case for them to beat Georgetown.
Make the case,
and they very well could. Like Georgetown lost to Arkansas State last year in their third game of the year, so they could have very well beaten Georgetown. But with their top 4 guys from last year out, no, it's a write-off.
So you mean to tell me that in college basketball, like I said last podcast,
anything is possible.
Anything could happen in college basketball.
Anything.
In the words of KG.
Did not know that. That's new.
It's a new concept. Anything can happen in college basketball.
Outrageous.
Lost for words.
But
nice.
Speaking of anything can happen, not much happened on opening weekend. We had no ranked teams lost to unranked teams, which is kind of odd for the first weekend. Upsets make the college basketball world go round, so we didn't have any.
I think that it's gonna come though. They were prepared. They were ready for the unranked. They're prepared for them not to lose these games.
Well, there was no like actual upsets between ranked and unranked, but like Indiana did lose to Indiana State, which they shouldn't have. They had no business losing that game.
Well, they did lose by 21.
Wake Forest just lost.
Wake Forest lost to Liberty.
I'm just saying, like.
But that's not enough for you guys. You guys want more.
Read about that later on collegecourtreport.com.
I want to see some like half-court shot buzzer beaters,
right off the bat.
You know? Last minute tip.
You got some high expectations, man.
Right off the bat.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what college basketball.
I wanted
to go watch a predictable outcome. I'd go watch the NBA.
Yes, I know. I'm just saying. They might not be octane as you're requesting with your half-court shots and stuff, but competitive.
No, I'm saying if I want, I know.
Well-rounded, especially the Minnesota Providence game. That was back and forth the whole game. Loved watching that one.
I want to see like a Paul Jesperson half-court 3-point shot that he hit against Texas in the tournament 2 years ago. I want to see that in the regular season. I don't want to wait till March. I want that right now.
Give it January.
No, I want to see it all year long.
At
least one a week.
Game. There's a lot of threes getting chucked in that one.
Was there a half-court buzzer beater to win the game? No.
Not half-court. Beyond the arc, though.
But I also want to see it in March. I don't want it to just end there.
But not to win the game.
And there were a lot of dunks. Jordan Murphy was a monster.
Outrageous.
Speaking of which, I learned how to dunk the other day.
Why are you lying?
No one knows how tall I am.
You're 5'7".
Just roll with it. I'm 5'10".
That's a lot.
Dunked on a Fisher Price net in the gym.
No respect.
Needed a trampoline too to jump on that.
Some pogo sticks attached to your feet.
That's low. You know what? I'm glad Michigan State lost tonight.
Yeah, so we can beat you in 2 weeks.
I can't wait for the preview of that game. That's gonna be good.
It'll be like 3 hours long, so we'll just be arguing the whole time.
Bonzie Colson's gonna go to work on Miles Bridges. I'll tell you that much.
No, that boy's a monster.
He thrives in good.
That boy's a monster.
That's another another day.
Bridges.
We'll save
Also.
that for 2 weeks. Save it for 2 weeks. Should buy some tissues, Ryan. You'll be crying after that game. So
This guy.
outrageous. Speaking of games,
I was gonna say, what games are you guys looking forward to?
speaking of games to watch in the future, looking at this weekend, you've got a full slate ahead. Ryan, what's on your radar to watch this weekend?
Well, not this weekend. Starting tomorrow, though, because there's some good games leading up to the weekend. Starting tomorrow, we got Indiana or Seton Hall, number 22 Seton Hall. Indiana just lost to Indiana State. We'll see if they can bounce back. Then we got to go to the local. Niagara University's taking on Minnesota in Minnesota. I don't have much hopes for the Purple Eagles, but you never know what will happen.
That's gonna be. I want to watch that. Minnesota is nice. I like Minnesota.
Minnesota is nice. Khalil Dukes, hey, your boy Khalil Dukes.
I know. Shout out Khalil. Hope you do well. But Minnesota, I think, might win this one.
Do you think he's actually listening?
You never know. But hit me up on Instagram, Khalil. I like what you do.
Then we got Northwestern and Creighton. Should be a good game coming up. Then on Thursday, we got Indiana State and Auburn. You know, Indiana State, like I just said, if you guys were listening, actually, they just beat Indiana. So can they take down another Power 5 team? I don't know.
Wait, did you say
Providence
Indiana
versus-
State beat Indiana? I don't know. I don't remember you saying that. You've only said it about 4 times.
Maybe it was last podcast. I don't know. And then we got Providence versus Washington. Interested to see that game. And then on Saturday, that's Thursday. And then on Saturday, we got your precious Eastern Shore versus Georgetown.
Shout out to the Hawks.
And if they were healthy, oh, watch out.
You make a joke, but dead serious. You watch out if they were healthy. Nico, what's on your radar?
Well, for this Saturday, I'm feeling West Virginia. They play. Let's see. What time do they play at? I'm watching that West Virginia game against Morgan State because I haven't played, and I like a couple of their team. Currently, Jordan McCabe is out there.
Okay.
I'm based on what I got to do this. I'm gonna pick the games I can actually cut any highlight reels. All right. And I want to watch Harvard play the Manhattan Jaspers. Check that out. I think Harvard always comes up as one of the Ivy League schools that has the most part. And I want to see what they're doing so far this season. And I'm definitely going to try and catch the Georgetown game.
No, you're catching the Hawks game. You're
Saturday.
catching the Hawks game.
Be there, be square. Versus the St. Mary Mountaineers.
Oh, wrong game. No.
That's Wednesday. Sorry, that's Wednesday. That's on Wednesday.
Never mind, man. Trying to get people amped up for the Hawks.
I know. How about you, Ty? What you got in yours?
Well, you've got 3 of the marquee early season tournaments tipping off this weekend. You've got the Paradise Jam, which moved to Lynchburg, Virginia, from the U.S. Virgin Islands because of the hurricanes. So the Liberty Flames are hosting that. You've got Liberty Mercer, Houston versus Drexel in the first round. So there's a lot of good games there. Liberty just beat Wake Forest on Tuesday night, and Wake Forest is in the field for the Paradise Jam. So that kind of adds a little secondary storyline to that. If they meet up again down the road, Flames pull off 2 wins over the Deacons in a week. You never know. The Gildan Charleston Classic tips off. Ryan, you touched on Indiana State Auburn. Dayton and Hofstra play as well. So a lot of good games across the board, I think, all week. And then the Puerto Rico tip-off, Illinois State, South Carolina. I think that's one of the marquee games in the first round there. Boise State, UTEP. Really, I'm following every game that's on the slate from Wednesday through to next podcast. So,
hey, what are your thoughts on UTEP there, Tyler?
Omega Harris is one of the best guards in the Conference USA. Who kind of steps in, replaces Dominic Artis, who graduated last year, their do everything guard. And you've got Keith Fraser, who was at SMU, went to North Texas. He's now at UTEP, his 3rd school over his career. Hopefully he can kind of settle down and be that secondary scorer that they need.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you've got Leamington, Ontario native Matt Wilms in the front court, 7'2" big man, kind of anchoring the post. So whenever there's a Canadian on the team, you got to show a little love to them. So
No doubt.
middle of the pack kind of team in the Conference USA, but definitely potential to kind of sneak into that upper echelon and turn a few heads when postseason tournament comes along.
Yeah, I have high hopes for them because I've been watching them since the whole fiasco with the Windsor player that went there, Isaiah Osborne. Kind of like was stole from the program, whatever they want to call it. But I've been following them. They have a good group of guys, and you just highlighted 7'2" big man. You don't see that too often. And I think they'll make some noise for sure in their conference.
They're one of those teams that has talent, but nobody really. They're kind of flying under the radar this year, and I think that fits them. I think they're okay with that. They're okay coming in and surprising a few teams, turning heads, and pulling off an upset over a UAB or a Middle Tennessee in conference play and making a run in at the conference title. And yeah, they don't have the prestige or the rankings that these top teams in the conference have, but I think that fits into their system, and they're okay being the underdog and coming in and surprising everybody.
I like it. And shout out to all the Canadian players making a name for us over there in the States. I love it. We're everywhere.
There's actually quite a few that actually go down to Texas and play. So it's they seem to kind of go where it's warm, get away from the snow, and I don't blame them. Get the hell out.
No doubt. No, it's too cold here. It snowed here the other day. It hasn't left.
We've had snow out here for like a month, so you guys got to catch up. And that's your bitching about
you're on the West Coast.
Ontario. Just found that out last week.
Come Central. Yeah. Come South Wellston.
Working on it.
We don't have.
I left to come back.
We don't have the Midwest like America. Yeah. We just have West, East, Southwest.
Exactly.
North. Oh, it's too funny.
Our map is outrageous.
Our map is linear. That's too funny.
But I think, long story short, with all these games coming up, it's going to be another exciting week of college basketball. Got a lot of great games to kick off the season, and just another 7 days of great action. Hopefully there's a few upsets on the board as well. Hopefully we see our first ranked team fall to somebody who's not ranked. Fingers crossed, but you never know. But I think for that, myself, for Nico and Ryan, there's another edition of College Court Report podcast. We'll be back doing a recap of the Champions Classic. So we'll wrap up both those games. I'll be a little salty because Michigan State lost, but that's fine. And we'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Cheers.
Take care, fellas. And all the people out there, love you.
It's been a pleasure.